Hello, and I'm Charr Crail. Welcome to App-sessed, where I show you different apps that I love and how to use them. So today we're going to be talking about Typorama. I love Typorama. There are so many art apps out there and word apps and layout stuff, but I've tried them all. Well, maybe not all of them because there are just so darn many. I don't even know if I've seen them all, but I love them and I try them out, many of them. So today, Typorama because it's just easy. And there's nothing I like more than an easy app that shows me all kinds of groovy stuff and gives me plenty of options. And I like intuitive apps too. And that's one of the things that I feel works so well about Typorama. So just going to touch the icon and we're going to cancel that. Are you sure you want to cancel it? Yes, I am, because I just made that to put as a background on my screen. The bottom line is I'm sitting here recording. I'm like, oh, you know what? I think I'd like to have a new background on my screen. So I created it like right then and there. Anyway, so that's a little behind the scenes thing. But in the meantime, let's get back to Typorama and some of the things that are so cool about it. So as you can see on the opening screen, it gives you all kinds of options for some beautiful backgrounds. I mean, these backgrounds are great, and there's no reason why you shouldn't use them. Or you could be like me and be shooting backgrounds all the time. Things that I'm running into, things that I like. The project that I'm going to do tonight is something that I photographed at the supermarket. Almost every time I go to the supermarket, I take just a few minutes out of my day and I spend some time in the floral department and I photograph flowers. It's one of my favorite things to do. And they make great backgrounds. I use them in my art all the time. You never know what's going to be in season. And sometimes I do some fun depth of field things. Sometimes I get in really close. Sometimes I focus on one simple color. And sometimes I focus in on lots of colors. So there's plenty of options, suffice to say. But they give you options too. So if you don't want to take your own pictures, you don't have to. Not only that, this is a really cool thing. There's tons of images in their system that you can use. So let's just do a quick little look. You know what? I don't know why, but the word penguin came to mind. So I'm going to see what they've got in the way of penguin. Do they have any penguin pictures? Oh my goodness, look at this. So many penguins. Amazing, right? There's an elephant. I'm not sure how he ended up in the penguin batch, but anyway, so you get the idea. Like you could pretty much type anything in there. Let's type in the word fork. I don't know why. I'm just going with what comes into my brain. So let's see what comes up. All right. Lots of options. Lots of really solid options too. So if you want to do a food blog or something and you need an image for that, there you go. Right? So I'm going to cancel out of here because I have my own image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the camera roll, which is at the top right. And you can see here's my camera roll. And I just got all kinds of stuff. You know, I'm always shooting. I do a lot of self-portraits for a lot of reasons because I use them in my artwork. But I did take some pictures the other day at Safeway, and I had this beautiful rose. I wouldn't say it's beautiful, okay, but it's a perfectly nice rose, right? It's nice and it's sharp, and I'm happy with that. I'm not sure that that's the one I want to do, so I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that. We're going to go back to our camera roll. Actually, what I did was I had prepared an image already where I took that rose and then I did like this. I took it into one of my favorite art apps and then I boosted the contrast rather dramatically and the saturation. So all the yellows and reds and blues and turquoises are all just really juicy and yummy. So the original size now at this point, because of the cropping, is a square. And I'm perfectly satisfied with that. But another really great thing about Typorama is it anticipates your needs. And as you saw by my home screen, I was able to create one from another picture that I had for the iPhone 5 and 6 wallpapers. Like, oh, great. So it's already going to be perfectly shaped for what I needed as a backdrop. Okay. But it also gives you all of these different options, a 2 by 3, a 4 by 5, a 9 by 16, which is, come on, that's really cool. That's like panoramic, right? Either way, the point is you can do a Twitter post, Facebook cover, Facebook post. So it's already preparing these in the sizes that you might more commonly use, right? But I'm satisfied with my original size, so I'm just going to say done. And now it's going to open up. It's going to give me the option to put text on it. And as you can see, I've got what's called a watermark. That's because with the Pro version, I set it up to have that watermark and it's going to be there all the time. So every time I make a meme, and some of you don't know what a meme is, but all it really is type on a picture. That's it. Words on a picture, right? So anyway, I created this watermark so it's always on my stuff. And so once I'm in the watermark mode, I can change this, or I could make it bigger, smaller, I can move it around. I could change the opacity. I can also take the shadow off. I've got a shadow on it. I like the shadow on it because I feel that it helps it stay off from the background a little bit. Now, speaking of the background, there might be adjustments that you want to make to your image, right? So you have lots of them in adjustments here. So for example, brightness, if I think it's too dark and I want to brighten it up, or maybe I want to make it darker, I could actually do that here. So the same thing essentially with changing the exposure, right? I can alter the contrast, give it more contrast or less. I can alter the vibrancy. The vibrancy is actually sort of those secondary colors, right? So it's like the not so obvious colors in saturation, but saturation saturates everything. And as you can see, as I do that, it like gets really even more garish than the original image that I created. Okay, I don't really intend to change the saturation. But what you can't see here is something that I do use, and I use a lot if I'm making memes with a textural background like this, is I use the blur. And the reason I use that is because maybe I don't want it to look like what it actually is. I mean, I've already done art stuff to it, right? If I wanted it to look like a rose, I could have just used the rose picture. But I wanted the colors and I wanted the textures. And so what I can do here is I can add a blur to the image, right? So that's it, what they call 50. And I can take it down a little bit, right? But anyway, it does a couple of things. First of all, it makes the picture more textural. You could even say more abstract, but it's still got the juicy colors, which we'll get there. We could alter. And it also helps the type to actually stand out from the back. And we haven't even figured out what we're going to say here yet, right? But I'm going to stick with the blur. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, next, we can also do overlays. So Typorama gives you all these really interesting overlays that you can just tap and see what it looks like. Tap, see if you like it, right? Do you want to add texture? Do you not want to add texture? It's completely up to you. So it's got a lot of different options. Here's really interesting smoke. That's actually really cool, isn't it? So there's these smoke option, lots and lots of them too. So if you had a simple black background or something, it could be really quite stunning to use one of those smoke backgrounds. And well, actually, technically, they're called overlays. So here's something that's sort of lightened up and created what's called a bokeh effect. It's an effect that's created by the lens as it sees light. And so there's lots of options around that. Here's something with cute little hearts. You know, it's all a matter of taste. There's nothing right. There's nothing wrong. There's just options. But I'm not going to do an overlay, but you could. All right, now filters also gives you filters for how to handle the picture. Like for example, if I wanted to turn it black and white, called noir, right? Or chrome or foggy, I could just, it's kind of like Instagram gives you all these different filters. And this one basically says, okay, this filter is going to look like this. There you go. And you never know what it's going to look like because it does to some degree have a flavor, but it's also going to react to your particular image. So you can't always get a predictable result, but you can get a somewhat predictable result. So I'm going to stick with no filter, but at least there's options. Now let's get back to the text tools, and we're going to leave these alone for the most part right now. But you can see you can change the opacity, although the opacity on the text tool is down, the blur radius, Y position, X position. Mainly, you're not going to mess with that much, to be honest. I don't, and I like this. And there's tons you can do right here. So in text styles, they give you a massive number of ways that you can do text styles, right? So we haven't even figured out what we're going to say. So let's start there. So it says double tap to edit text. I mean, that's pretty straightforward, right? So we just double tap. Now, I could choose what I want to say. Have a beautiful day. Today's the first day of the rest of your life. Whatever it is I have to say. Or maybe it might be something about my business, like go take a picture today or something, right? I'm a photographer. That's what I do. I'm also a teacher. Maybe I want to do something like, an apple a day. I don't know. Who knows? I just made that up on the spur of the moment. But this awesome feature in Typorama, which I love, is also called Get a Random Quote. So all I have to do is touch that. I want you, only you. Get a random quote. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. It just goes on and on. Now, some of them definitely will start to repeat, but there's plenty of options. Plenty, right? So let's see. What else? I have not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. I totally relate to that. Okay, I'm not proud of my circumstances. I'm a product of my decisions. And how about what else? Be the type of person that you would like to meet. All right, let's stick with that. It's inspirational, it's friendly, it's a perfectly decent choice. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm good with that. Done. So the done button is at the top right. So now you can see it's placed it right there. And you notice that when I touch the type with my finger, so what's happening is it is moving around on the grid line, right? And so there's something called rule of thirds. So you could offset it or you could put it darn right there in the middle and you could see how it's laying on those lines where it's going to be. You can also make it bigger and smaller simply with the two finger pinch, right? So your thumb and index finger, and you can rotate it. You can twist it around and you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, you can, put it any place that you want here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to see what some of the options are. Oh, by the way, you can also change the colors. Okay. We're just going to stick with, well, let's leave it with yellow for now. Okay. So you can see these different styles that the northern people is highlighted. It's red. So what that tells you is that that's the type that it's using. So you can go through all of these and you can try these different ones. But here's a really cool thing that I bet you didn't know. You touch it again, it gives you another option within that same text style. What that means mostly is the font and the layout, right? So be the type of person you'd like to meet. Do I like it? Not that much. Let's try another one. All right, let's try another one. Let's try another one. Okay, I'm not crazy about that. It looks a little bit like boxy to me, right? Here's another one that's very 70s sort of type. There's some of them that actually have graphics in there. This one would pertain to travel if you ask me because of the hat and the suitcase. Rainy days, cutesy. So I'm going to touch cutesy again so you can see there's lots of different options there. And I don't mind that so much. I think it's kind of cool. Fast runner. That's nice. Love you more than anything. Some nice little graphic pieces. Paintbrush. These are all different things that you can try and see and touch again. You like, I like that style, but I want to try a different one. I want to try a different one. And you just keep on going, right? Until maybe you get around to the front end of it and try something else. This one's kind of cool, I think, because it's got that box around it, but it conflicts with my watermark, right? So I'm probably not going to do that. And horror story, which I keep thinking it's going to have those blobs, but as far as I can tell, it doesn't. And I sort of kind of wished it did because I like the blobs, or I thought it was very interesting and ghoulish, and we have Halloween coming up, so that would be really convenient, right? But there's still lots of options, and we're just sort of scrolling through so you can get a really good overview. I think that one's actually kind of interesting because of the way things kind of sort of go back and forth a little bit. Here's the letter game. Looks like a game of Scrabble. Faith and glory. That's kind of fun. Last paradise, words stacked on top of each other. I really like that. So for now, let's stick with that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bit bigger and a little bit bolder. Now, the opacity, you can change the opacity if you want it to be a little more see-through, but I don't want to. And then it's got this thing behind it called a drop shadow. And I tend to like the drop shadow because I think it helps the type to stand out even more. So I'm going to say that I'm pretty satisfied with that. And let's see, was there one other thing? So there is the watermark option, right? So if I think my watermark is too big or I want to move it around, and you get options to fix and keep the watermark when you have the paid version, which I do. I almost invariably go pro on anything that I like. I go pro. It's usually just a few dollars, if not even less. Sometimes it's even less, a lot less. And I just think it's great to have all the functionality. So I say go. All right, so good enough. I'm happy. I'm going to leave the watermark there, and I think I'm ready to go. So I'm going to say, okay, share. So when I'm sharing, it gives me all these different options, right? So my rule of thumb is save to your camera roll first. That's how I do it. You can share all over the place. By all means, please do. But you always want to save it to your camera roll first. That's the first thing I do. So I know that I've got it. It's mine. I don't have to worry about trying to pull it off of Facebook or any of these other things. So I would rather, frankly, post from my camera roll 9%, 90% of the time. Most of the time. Okay, so it's now in my photos. I'm just going to go ahead and check on that, and it should be the very last thing that I did. There it is. Be the type of person that you would like to meet. We just made a meme in Typorama. I do love Typorama. I think it's a lot of fun. There's some other ones that are great out there, but this is the one I wanted to show you today because it's simple. And frankly, if I hadn't been talking so much and showing you so much, I would have had this thing done in like a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes max with some, making some choices. So you can do it too, and I hope you do. And if you do, please, by all means, like Facebook me or send it to me. You can email it to me and put it on my, you can actually go to my website and contact me. So if you like this and you want to learn more about apps, I'm going to be doing this ongoingly. So go find me at www.charrcrail.com. It's CharrCrail.com. I really am obsessed. I truly am. And I can't wait to show you so many more. So I hope you're in touch with me. Thank you.